Welcome to the Wednesday, January 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Easton End Planning and Zoning Board. This is a hybrid meeting tonight, and we have a few hybrid meeting protocols. So it's going to be conducted in person and remotely over Zoom. Attendance by planning board members may be in person or remote, and both types of attendance shall count towards quorum. This meeting may be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT, which it is. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application at zoom.us and create an account or use one of the call-in numbers listed on the agenda. You will need the webinar ID to join by phone only. While conducting hybrid meetings, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to standard procedures as possible. However, use of the remote platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members or commissioners will be on video and audio, public participants are invited to speak by the chair, will be in person, on video, or on audio. Public participants may join by Zoom, will be remoted with no video feed from them. Public lines will be muted throughout the meeting to allow the board to conduct business and to eliminate background noise. For general meetings, not hearings, most of these are hearings, and only for items under which the chair solicits public comment, members of the public participating in the Zoom meeting may submit a written question via text chat, provided they include their full name and address for the public record. You can ask questions on the text step if you want. We'll answer those. Let's see, members of the public viewing the meeting on ECAT may submit questions in writing via email to Stephanie. Your email address is, use the text chat, please. You can follow up with email questions later on. That's about it. There's a few other items here. If you join by phone, you'll need to press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. So we'll start with a roll call. Mickey?
Wolf, present.
Yep. Catherine Kidd?
Present.
Joanne Ziegman?
Present.
Okay. Peter Deshane, present. Okay, we'll start. First, we have a couple continued public hearings, the first of which is 149 Lincoln Street, Carter Estates. Looks like they've requested a continuance to February 27th.
Motion to continue the definitive subdivision 149 Lincoln Street to February 27th.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Wolf?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
Ziegman?
Aye.
Okay, Deshane, aye, that passes. We have a continued public hearing for 523 Foundry Street, mixed use. That's being continued to January 29th.
Motion to continue 523 Foundry Street till January 29th.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Kidd?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Ziegman?
Aye.
Okay, Deshane, aye. Okay, next we have a continued public hearing, definitive subdivision, special permit residential compound in Nagin Estates, 165 Pine Street.
Motion to continue definitive subdivision residential compound till January 29th.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Wolf?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
And Ziegman?
Aye.
And Deshane, aye. Okay, we have Sawmill Village proposed change in design of homes. Is there anyone here for
Suzanne,
that?
is he,
Mhm.
so you're promoting him to panelist?
We'll see now.
Mhm. Oh,
Grace?
hello, Mr. Lincoln. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Rick Lincoln, Lakeville, Massachusetts. Here for Sawmill Village.
Mhm.
How's everybody doing?
Thanks.
Good, thank you.
Good. So good. Someone sharing the screen, or is that me?
I'm sharing it, Rick.
Okay, great. Thank you. So may I start?
Go ahead.
We're looking to switch out, there's probably about 14 or 15 homes, 16 homes, trying to get away. There was a single family unit with a single car garage rear. We have 2 under construction right now. One of them is this rear garage. So we quickly realized that, once the foundation was in, it's a tough footprint on a cluster site like this with all walkout basements. And the reason is with the garage pushback, there are longer driveways in the garage where the walkout is sitting, 7, 8 feet in the air. So I hired the architect to try and come up with something that would work for everyone, aesthetically pleasing. This is probably 6 or 7 iterations, and we like it. We're hoping you do too. But it's a much, I think it'll sell a lot better as well. So, we're converting from a 2-story, 2-bedroom home with 1-car garage to basically a single level living with a 2-car garage. Maybe a car and 3/4, but it is a 16-foot door. So it works much better with the grading. Once we develop the floor plan and the elevations, the next step was to try and figure out how we impacted the impervious area out there. We had to push a few things around, like micro changes, but the net impact to the entire site, both east and west side, over the bridge, is like a net reduction of 154 square feet. So essentially, we saved a lot on the driveways and pulling the garage out of the rear areas, and the footprint of the livable floor plan increased slightly. So they kind of offset each other. So we ended up with a slight decrease. So no changes to stormwater design. There's no grading changes. There's nothing. But it is an architectural change. So we wanted to come in front of the board and see if you like it. They're all 1,800. They're all 1,800 square feet or less. So this one's like 1,750 square feet, I think, something like that.
So I think it was mentioned that this new design would allow for the possibility of a basement level, I guess, living or use area. Is that?
That hasn't changed. All of the houses have that potential, because they're almost all walkout basements, with the exception of maybe 6, maybe 9 homes. So that didn't change.
All right. Maybe Stephanie, do you have the previously approved architectures?
Oh,
Available?
I don't have that. I can probably pull it up on Permitize.
Does anyone have any questions? Board members, do you have questions? Well, Stephanie reviews that.
There is another site plan that I submitted that kind of shows the houses we're talking, at least the locations, but plus what we found too, there is obviously been a lot of interest, in the homes coming up for sale. But we're kind of holding everybody off because I really don't want to pre-sell a whole lot. Is that with the demographic we're seeing out there, all of the interested folks, there's a lot of people that like the single level living. They don't want the staircase. So that was the other reason we got after some new designs.
Yep. And what kind of materials are you using, say, for the siding and I guess they look like some sort of exterior?
We did, yeah. So obviously I want to dress up the fronts as much as I can out there. So that is something new, called it's vinyl, but it's actually almost $600 a square. It's probably 4 or 5 times the price of regular vinyl. It's even more expensive than the Mabec wood shingles. but it won't fade. So it's basically a vinyl single shingle, fairly new to the market.
What's that called?
I'm sorry?
Oh, what's that called, that product?
Certainteed sawmill shingles.
So that would be
And that-
for every unit, or you'd vary it depending on?
I'm going to vary it. Like there's probably 4 different colors within the sawmill. You can see there's some stone on that, so we want to kind of mix it up. Originally, the architect came in with he had a little bit of stone on the bottom part. It was too busy, so we're trying to keep it kind of subtle and really nice without getting too crazy. So there is another elevation. I'm going to keep the floor plan. Yeah, there's one. That is that the B2 unit, Stefan? No, A. Can you? I think it's the next one down. One more after that. Keep going.
That's what I have.
Oh, it is.
One.
Yeah, see those are all the garage rears. We're still using those in the 6 units in the middle, and then there's a couple of units on the corners and everything. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Right, and then
It's not-
yeah, so the garage rear is really just not feasible, like as like to mix into the rest of the.
Right. What happens when you push it to the back, you really mess up your floor plan. And because the long driveway runs down the side of the house, so you can't put any house in front of the garage, obviously. And we did a little bit, but you end up with a single car garage and then a car parked in the driveway all the time. If the couple has 2 cars, for instance. So yeah, it was a tough one. And if you can visualize with the garage in the rear, the whole foundation is out of the ground. Because it's a walkout type lot.
Stephanie, you have a question?
Yeah, so Rick, I think what Peter wanted to see were the previously approved
Mhm.
renderings. Are these not them? The ones-
Those,
Or at least 1 of 2 of these?
yeah,
you're-
those were approved renderings and we're still doing those, but it's
Okay.
not the ones we're looking to replace.
Okay,
So you're doing those 6 though, right? Out of the total, is that?
Yes, but there's probably 8 of those on the site, maybe 9.
Mhm.
So there's that one, there's that farmhouse style you saw in the previous. If you looked up, Stephanie, I think
No, I
it's
think this is it. This is probably it.
those are
No, these look the same.
those
These are
are-
from 2022.
I don't know if you can look up on Permit Eyes, it's 15 Coach Road.
Okay.
That's the
Oh,
one.
no, building department, I can actually do that.
Sorry about that. I didn't even think about presenting that rendering.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I think part of the goal is to have like kind of like a varied look rather than just like each one kind of, the garage is pretty much kind of the focal point here in most of the units now, whereas before it allowed for more like varied kind of front facade look. Are you planning on kind of varying the gables and?
Yeah, well, you're correct. Yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3 elevations, for the single level, and I'm trying to develop one more with the architect, but I haven't given him the green light on another one because I just wanted to make sure that we were okay first.
I don't have permission to access the
Yeah.
attached files. on
Okay,
the
right, yeah, but I
building
mean, I guess the
permit.
main point was that most of the garage doors were on the sides before, and now they're almost all in the front.
No, that's the ones that we just looked at there. There's only, like I said, well, I don't know, 7 or 8 of those on the development, and that's always been the case. Those we were originally gonna do, but they became impossible. And we were working with Greg at the time and you folks, so we eliminated a lot of those and came up with this single story, not single story, I'm sorry, single garage pushed
Yes,
way back. So you could still see the garage from the street. It was just pushed back with a longer driveway.
I don't think I have
Can't get in there.
those things here.
Okay, all right, that's all right. Okay, well, you have what's proposed. I mean, is there a way you can kind of come up with, like, show us something that's a little more varied with like some actual examples, or is that?
Well, I could come up with, yeah, I can show you another elevation of a, yeah, kind of like it would be that a similar floor plan, but different roof line, and I've not started on it yet, but I can.
Yeah, I'm just like wondering, like, what do we have to approve right now? Just like this and a few others that look the same with the same roof lines, or?
Well, it's not the elevation so much, it's just the footprint that I guess I'm looking to get approved, and then I can come back and say, you know, I probably take 3 or 4 weeks or whatever, and I can come up with another one, but I'd like to use that same floor plan, but just a completely different look, you know, maybe more stone on the 2 gables, different roof line. Oh, there's that.
Yeah, this is the plan.
Can you go to the yeah, that page right there? So see in the middle, those 6 houses? There's 1, 2, there's 4 of those kind of garages to the side. And even 17 cutters. So those are the ones that you were talking about, Peter, that were originally prominent in the development. But they got canned kind of midway through the whole permitting process because those grades absolutely didn't work out on the perimeter lots, you know, the walkouts.
Okay, is there any question from the public on this?
Peter, can
Yeah.
I ask for a point of clarification from
Sure.
Rick? So Rick, you're saying that basically what you're seeking approval for from the board is this single level design, but you could come up with a few different exterior designs to provide the variety that Peter's talking about.
And that we had before, right? Yeah.
So that they
We-
don't all look the same.
Yep, which is the last thing I want as well. So we have 2 different ranch styles now. The one that you're seeing tonight is the 3rd one with a new floor plan. And then I can put a different face on that floor plan as well, which would give us 4 different faces within that single story plan. We still have other plans that we're doing on the site. So
you'd like us to possibly consider approving a single story floor plan for most of the units?
yeah, those ones in
The proposed
green.
location.
Right, yeah, 2 of those ones in green, we just shifted the driveway. See lot 21 and lot 24, still the same house. We just changed the driveway approach. I don't know why she highlighted those in green, but the other ones, yes, it would be a switch out to the ranch with, I could do probably another even 2 more elevations. So that's easy to do with the architect.
All right. Is there any questions from the audience here? Oh, Joanne, did you have any comments on that?
Yeah. So I love the single floor living. I think there's such a demand for that nowadays. It's only going to grow. I'm just curious on the interior of the house. Are there any steps, or is it between the living room and the dining room or whatever? Or is it a completely single level?
Trying to do completely single level, and the challenge is, as you know, with a ranch and a tight lot, is we're trying to develop these things with like 1 step from the garage into the house. And we've even identified a lot of lots where, you know, we're careful with the water table, but I think I can do 9-foot foundations and flush frame it, you know, so we're doing everything we can to kind of appeal to that demographic, because we're getting a ton of interest, and everybody, you know, that's kind of where at least my age group is, you know, people want that, I think, for, you know, the next 20 years or so, you know, when they, as they age.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you building in any other sort of universal design measures? Are you looking at kind of how you're planning the bathrooms to potentially be wheelchair friendly or anything like that?
We're
Or
doing, so obviously we do a ton of blocking in our home. So, you know, we're all set up for grab bars and things like that. Almost all of these on the first floor, like the primary or master bedroom, are roll-in showers, things like that,
nice.
you know, as best we can.
Yeah, so pretty adaptable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we can't get 3.0 openings on all the doors, you know, in a really tight footprint, but we're trying, you know, we do the best we can. So
Yeah.
wider
And is this sort of
staircases.
the picture that we're looking at, that we were, excuse me, that we were looking at on the screen, is that a step in the front at the front door as well, or does that ramp up to the front door?
Well, that's just a rendering for now, but yeah, he threw in a granite step, so
That's a granite step. Yeah.
yes.
Nice. Those are great. No,
It's-
that was all. I'm just excited to see some single living because I think that's a real need, especially I know Easton is an age-friendly community as well too. So trying to get more diversity in the housing stock for people of different ages and abilities is important.
Yeah, so
think-
if we were to approve the single floor concept and the new kind of building locations, then you would come back with some varied architecturals and also maybe like a list of you know, possible materials, you know, for the, you know, say like you mentioned the granite step, right? So if that's a rendering, or is that actually gonna, you know, just like your ideas for actually for the, you know, how that's actually gonna happen. I mean, you could just say all of them will have granite steps. I mean, I don't know if, you know, we have to make you say, oh, we want some brick and some granite, but I mean, so obviously you want the other, right? Or I mean, there'd be some concrete. I mean, whatever. What do you think?
Right. Well, I hate pavers. I mean, we
Yeah.
do pavers all the time in the rears, but in the fronts of houses, we don't, you know, we don't tend to like to do that. Although I know I agreed to do pavers in the permit, which we will do, obviously, from the driveway to the front door. But around the front door, you know, we're trying to avoid the typical wood decks, you know, and go with the hard, you know, like a granite tread like that. Gotta be a little careful with landings, and, you know, you may end up with 2 steps. You know, we try hard for the 1 step, but sometimes, you know, you just gotta be careful with grades.
Yeah, and how is it that if you didn't reduce well, I guess you increased the footprints, right? But you kept the living area about the same. Is that what happened here?
Right. Yep. Yep.
And the footprints increased by approximately how much?
It depends on the house, but I'd say about maybe 80 square feet, 70 square feet. And then we were able to decrease the impervious on the driveways.
Yeah. So you eliminated like the longer side driveway, but by moving making the single floor, you just increased the footprint of the homes.
Correct.
Okay, and there's no like possibility for, you know, having some like 2 levels and some single levels. It's just
there's still some 2 levels in there. So
okay.
yeah, yep. No, they're not all single levels. But you know, it does reduce the scale. You know, you're not seeing too many 2-story homes in there. But we still have the originals in the plan.
Okay, I mean, we want to work with you here, so I'm not really sure what else we can do. If it's the 1 story is the only feasible option for some of those locations, it seems like a little bit interesting time for that to come up. But I mean, I guess we have to, you know, take your word there for that.
Well, it gets tough too, Peter, on the like the 2 stories, all the clients that have been showing up, you know, with a 2-bedroom limit, you know, we have 1 on the first floor, the primary, and then we have 1 on the second floor with a large study. It's kind of you know, it's odds, maybe not the right word, but it hasn't really hit the market well. So when we started looking at everything, it's like, oh, we need to rethink for a variety of reasons. So
yeah, I see that. Yeah, you walk in here and you have like a room, and then you have the bedrooms on one side, and you have a kitchen and the living area. So it just works.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll be a cool layout.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions or make a motion to approve the new, we'll be approving, I say, the single story concept and the new building locations on the plan that you presented. Is that it?
Yes,
I think-
yep. And then, with the condition that Rick will come back
Mhm.
with some varied designs.
Yep. Mhm.
So moved.
Second, okay. All in favor, Wolf?
Aye.
Kid?
Aye.
Zigmund?
Hi.
DeShane, aye. Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we might have a little more interest in the next one here. It's the MBTA zoning potential districts discussion. We're going to talk about our potential districts for the MBTA zoning, Washington North, that's Roach Brothers Drive, 138 Washington Street, Belmont, Washington, that's the intersection of Belmont and Washington Street. And also we'll call it the Target area on Foundry Street.
So Peter, I think we were just going to
Mhm.
focus tonight on the Belmont, Washington, which
Yeah,
is the
sure.
southeast.
Yeah, I was just kind of introducing the
Okay, all right,
concept here.
sorry.
Right, so we opened this public hearing, right, a while ago, and we've had some discussions in the public hearing, and even before that, we had some discussions. We're getting closer to the point where we have to vote on something for the town meeting on May 20th. But we're still in the process of soliciting input from the residents and from the other boards, and anyone else that chooses to comment. So this is just kind of a continuance of that process, and thanks everyone for coming in person to talk to us about this. So what do you have, Stephanie?
Well, you know
The
what,
maps?
I thought because we probably have some
Mhm.
folks here that haven't attended previous
Mhm.
hearings or meetings, and it might be helpful if I just do a quick overview
Sure,
of what the MBTA
Mhm.
multifamily zoning by right is,
thank you.
and then we can look at the districts that we're talking about.
Sounds
tonight.
great.
Okay, and can everybody hear me?
Yep, and just so you know, we're going to give we'll give the presentation. The board members can make any comments. I have additional questions, and we'll take your questions one by one. If everyone starts speaking at the same time, it won't be very productive. So let's try to.
And I won't do
Yeah,
the
follow that
full
protocol.
presentation
Mhm.
because it takes about 45 minutes.
yeah,
But
no,
again,
yep,
I'm
mhm.
going to cover the basics.
Mhm.
And if people have questions, please raise your hand. If you need some clarification on what I'm talking about, just let me know and we'll take the time.
And I think we can kind of take smaller questions as we go along, but
Yes.
let's not get too sidetracked until
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Just clarification on what the zoning is. And then we can get into the
Mhm, yeah.
districts. Talk about that. Okay, so basically what we're talking about this evening with these zoning districts is a law that was passed in 2021. It was part of the Economic Development Bill, and it added a new section to the Zoning Act, Section 3A, and that requires MBTA communities to have at least one zoning district where multifamily housing is allowed by right, and to a density of a minimum of 15 units per acre. And MBTA zoning, which Easton is one of 177 communities in Massachusetts that have been designated as an MBTA community because they either have an MBTA transit station located within the town, or it's a community that's located adjacent to another community that has a transit station located in their town. Easton does not have a transit station. People may be aware that there is an old MBTA line that's been defunct for many, many years. But what the town does do is it abuts Brockton, which has transit stations, and Mansfield, which also has transit stations in Stoughton. So we're an MBTA adjacent community. The requirement of the zoning, or the intent of the zoning is really to reduce local regulatory barriers to multifamily housing. The state is in a housing crisis. There is not adequate housing to meet all the needs of the state's residents, and certainly not at a level of affordability for people of all incomes. The state recognized that most communities in Massachusetts actually zone against multifamily housing. And they wanted to make sure that, especially where there are MBTA transit stations or proximity to those stations, that multifamily housing could be constructed by right. And the key word here is could be. Not that it has to be built, but that it could be built by right. They also set, so the districts, again, must allow the multifamily housing as of right. They must allow a minimum of 15 units per acre. So this is the zoning district. There can be no restrictions placed on the zoning or the multifamily housing. So you can't restrict occupancy by age. You can't limit the size of the units. And you can't limit the number of bedrooms. It's intended to be family friendly. It's intended to meet the needs of a variety of people looking for housing and more affordable housing. If you are an MBTA community, you must have your district located within a half a mile of a transit station. If you're an adjacent community, there's recognition that you may not have bounds or a location within a half mile of a transit station. Therefore, the state is requiring that in those instances, you designate your districts where there's already existing residences in proximity to businesses, services, and amenities, and near transportation corridors. Easton is an adjacent community. So again, we don't have a location in Easton that would be within a half mile of a transit station. The district has to be at least 50 acres in area. It may be comprised of sub-districts, but at least one of those sub-districts has to be 25 contiguous acres, and none of the sub-districts can be less than 5 acres. So any questions on what's being required? Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about compliance. Again, this is a mandate. This is a law that was passed by the state. It's in effect, and MBTA communities must comply. If we don't comply, what will happen is that the state will restrict the town's access to certain funding grants. Some of those funding grants help pay for new infrastructure within communities. They may help with sidewalks. The Complete Streets program provides funding for sidewalks within communities and other elements that make streets more accessible to all users. And there are certain planning grants. And I'm going to jump right to, so in Easton, over the last 13 years, we have received over $800,000. I mean, $8 million, not 800,000, $8 million.
That made it sound better. You start with a small number. Then,
Yes, and then jump to
Then
the
just
big as
multiply it by
opposed to
10.
the
There you
other
go.
way. In funding for certain programs that have really helped Easton invest in its target growth areas. The new development that you see along Main Street is a result of some of the funding that we received that helped pay for the roadway improvements, helped pay for the sewer, and also paid for some of the street amenities. We received funding, 2 funding grants for the Five Corners Sewer District. One grant was for design of that district, and the other went towards construction, which helped reduce the betterment costs that the property owners were going to be seeing. And then recently we received a $400,000 Complete Streets grant for the sidewalks along Lincoln Street. the grant rounds for these programs, generally, you have to submit your applications in June. We submitted 4 applications this past June for 4 grants. And we were notified in October that we received awards for each of those grants in the amount we asked for, which totals around $400,000. So in addition to being the law, and that the Attorney General has said there is no option for communities to opt out of this program, Easton, if it doesn't adopt its zoning district, would be ineligible for these type of funds. And then there are other funding options and programs that we would not be as competitive as other communities that have adopted their districts. Again, any questions?
And then we just have some certain deadlines to meet, right? As
That's- I
you
was
have
just
those
gonna
coming up?
do
Oh,
that.
wow. All right.
So the deadline for Easton as an MBTA adjacent community is that the town needs to adopt the zoning by end of year this year. So by 12/31/2024, the town needs to adopt the zoning or will become ineligible for these funding options. We're hoping and planning to go to town meeting in May and have this adopted. And the purpose of these hearings is to let people know where the districts are being proposed, why they're being proposed in those areas, solicit feedback from you, and hear what you have to say. Take that into consideration as the board discusses and then deliberates on what the final district should look like. And then we're hoping we get your vote at town meeting. So
Oh, sure.
do you want me
Thanks.
to go right to the,
Yeah.
right?
Does anyone have any questions about why it's probably a good idea for us to comply with this rather than not comply? Okay.
Okay, so we've already talked about we're not going to talk about the Foundry Eastman District tonight. We've had several meetings. We've received a lot of feedback from the residents in that area. We know they've had questions and raised some concerns. We're in the process of addressing those. I know we have some folks here tonight who have properties in the other 2 districts. So the
Right.
first one that we're going to look at is the Washington Belmont District. And this is located on the southeast corner of the intersection of Belmont and Washington Street. People will probably recognize, I'm going to stand up because I use my cursor to point to this and I'm told it doesn't show up on the screen. So you may recognize this is the marketplace on Belmont Street. This is IBC. For those of you who don't know, that is currently a manufacturing facility. They manufacture ductwork for HVAC systems. And we have Belmont Arms here, which is existing apartment complexes. And Wayne, I think we have like around 30 units in the larger one and about 15 or 14 in the smaller building here. And then we have the other properties here. This location was selected when the planning board started this discussion. And we've talked about this in past meetings. Basically, when the guidelines came down, the select board had a briefing, a public meeting where the zoning was discussed and everyone was educated, including most of the members of the select board who weren't familiar with the zoning. They assigned an implementation review team who was charged with reviewing the draft guidelines and providing comments for the town, and also looking at maps of the town and coming up with potential districts. They started with 8, and for a variety of reasons, some of which were the districts just wouldn't comply, even though they would seem suitable for us, but for reasons established by the state, they wouldn't comply with the zoning. And then the planning board narrowed that down to 3 over the course of the last six months or
Yep.
Oh.
so.
Yeah. And for the most part, we chose areas that had already kind of been maybe not slated, but, that kind of with sewer and our other features have the potential for multifamily that we've already approved. So maybe quite, less dense multifamily than what we have to comply with now. But we already had these areas kind of slated for development, right? So we kind of looked at those and we found the ones that we thought would be a good fit. Now we're trying to find a balance between the three that we've sort of settled on.
So this is a good location. Again, it's in a target growth area that was identified as part of the Envision Easton Master Plan, which was completed in 2014. And this is along what we refer to as the Queeset Commercial District Corridor. There's currently housing that exists here, primarily single family, that pre-existed the commercial development, but there's a lot of commercial development there. So there are a lot of places where people can shop, they can do business, they can go to eat. You have the industrial park here. So there are opportunities if you have multifamily housing here, people might be able to work within the industrial park, which employs in total more than 1,000 people. So I think people don't realize how many people actually work in the industrial park. And while it's not located near any of the town's preserved and protected open space and recreation areas, it is right across the street from Stonehill College. And Stonehill allows people and welcomes people to walk through their campus, which is kind of a mix of a campus atmosphere, but also wooded areas and pathways. So it seemed like a good place. People not only could do business, have the possibility of work. If they're commuting, they're still closer to Route 24, but they also would have the opportunity to go outside for passive recreation.
And really, sheep pasture is not that far down the road. I mean,
That's
so,
right.
yeah,
That's right. It really isn't. So that's that district.
Yep. Does anyone have any questions about this district? Yes, sir. Just state your name, please.
Chris Cohn.
Okay.
The concern that I would have is the traffic implications. Now, before that, was IBC going to be leaving, or is it staying there?
So IBC would love to, I've had conversations with the operations manager at IBC in the past. They're thriving. And right, the last time I spoke with Mr. Day, which really now is 3 years, they still planned to stay in that location. He has expressed an interest to grow and expand the business a little bit on the site. The holdback there for them is that they need a higher level of, they don't need a higher level of septic treatment. They need public sewer. They need access to public sewer because they, in order for them to expand their building, the only space for them to expand onto is their septic system, the discharge.
Right, and when you look at that, the lot, that's the big one in the middle,
Yeah.
there's kind of a whole wetland side as well, so it's not that whole lot is developable, right? Yeah.
So is septic, I can't remember, septic's being planned for there, or is that part of the proposal?
Right now, the sewer goes up to, I think it's right here, the dentist's office, and it stops. But the potential to extend it down Belmont Street does exist. They also, IBC is not owned by a local firm. They're owned by a company that's located outside of Massachusetts. And there is always the potential that they may leave. Now, one thing I want, sorry, Chris, for interrupting, but I want to make an important point. I said earlier that your district would allow the possibility of multifamily housing being built if someone who owned the property or a developer together wanted to build that. The underlying zoning doesn't go away. This is going to be an overlay district, so the underlying zoning will persist.
Is of the three that you've picked, which one has the greatest potential for, which has the most open space, or space ready for development for low income, or for high density?
So the The next district we'll look at probably has the most undeveloped land.
Which one's that?
That is going to, that's Washington North. I'm going to go to that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all three are really kind of substantially developed, right, with maybe a few pockets of vacant land. And, you know, this one really doesn't really have any, so it'd be a rebuild on what's already there.
Clarify combination. We're not talking about each district in isolation. There's a chance of.
That's correct.
Yep, oh yeah, there will be a combination of districts. We actually need a combination to meet all the requirements, unless we really maxed out one or the other, but we're not gonna do that.
But back to the traffic, that's the main route. If you follow 123 up, comes down Washington Street, then up Belmont Street. And so the traffic there is already high, and so if you put in a lot of residents in there, it's going to compound the traffic in that area. I mean, I can remember when the bridge went out on
Central Street.
Central Street. Wayne Southworth told me that he was getting calls and complaints from people out of state because 123 there was closed. And so the traffic is.
Yeah, this area, I travel this quite a bit, Chris. I live in Brockton, and so I travel down this road quite a bit. It's not my main route to work. I also ride my bike to work, and on
Take your
these
life in
roads,
your hands.
I'm not really, actually. And the traffic along Belmont Street to Washington Street is, you know, I would say it's moderately heavy to heavy, but it's not as heavy as, say, on Furnace, on Foundry Street. I
Yeah,
think
it's
the
definitely not the
traffic
worst
on
area in
Foundry
town. I
Street
think most of
is
us would
the
agree with
traffic.
that, but yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about Central Street.
Yeah.
Central Street itself, I mean, we live off Central Street, so to pull out on Central Street is sometimes very difficult.
So your concern would be that people who might be living in this area would be traveling
More
on
people
to
will-
Central.
Yeah, they just drive to
They
the,
would- they
yeah,
would-
drive to the schools or drive to Shaw's or something
Yeah.
like that, but yeah, things,
Yeah.
everything, I'll drive to work, yeah.
We don't even go to Shaw's at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Because the traffic is so bad.
Yeah.
That's my, you know, my particular major concern about that side is the traffic. Where you've got the other side where the railroad train station is actually planned to be, and then you have the other one down on Roberts Drive. It already has a large amount of
Yeah, well, yeah, they have their share of traffic too, so we're required to do this, right? We didn't like to pull this out of our own, like, have an idea one day, say, let's have dense multifamily, all across town. But we have to do it, so we're picking the zones and we're trying to,
Well, you got
we're trying to
traffic,
allocate
you got
it.
the water. Right, because you have a pond there, but the pond's extensive. The water, as you know, is extensive. It comes across from Stone Hill, moving down through the industrial
Yep.
park. So you have a lot of water.
Okay, this is, so the other, oops, sorry about that. The other district, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I'm restricted as to how large I can make that.
Oh.
So the other district, and I think, Chris, you were talking about this. This is Roach Brothers Way and Washington Street. This, if the MBTA ever did extend the South Coast Rail down through Easton, this would be where the train station would be located. And, you know, you have Stoughton right here. So it is in proximity to the Stoughton train station. You can see there looks like there's more developable area. There are wetlands over here. I believe this is the detention basin for the Roach Brothers Plaza, which would be undevelopable as long as that operates. It does not have access to sewer. Someone asked the other day of me, have there been conversations with Stoughton? Is there a potential for tying into Stoughton? And in the time that I've worked for the town and we've been talking about where sewer should be located and the CWMP, I've never heard Stoughton referenced as a potential. That doesn't mean it couldn't, I just don't know the answer to that. You do have some multifamily zoning, housing over here. These are condominiums or townhouses. And I don't know if we have anyone here. We did mail to all the property owners in the 2 districts that we're talking about tonight. So I know that Mr. Ferroni is here because they own property on Belmont Street. I don't know if anyone else from the area. Great, welcome.
Right, so this one might be kind of the least, I guess what we call it, say controversial, right? But at the same time, it's, you know, it's not going to fulfill like the full requirements. So it's, you know, that's why we have it as an option, and we're trying to use that to balance out the other areas as best as we can. You guys have more questions about that? What do you think in general?
So one of the, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Chris Marcelli.
Okay.
Belmont Street.
Yep.
One of the requirements is that it requires sewer.
No.
Does it? It's not
No,
required.
the state does not require that you have the infrastructure or you build the infrastructure.
We can't really require that, right? Because then we're limiting the as of right like opportunity that is the kind of the primary focus there.
Right. And the state also feels that developers know how to figure out how to handle the wastewater treatment if the site can support it. It was one of the considerations in locating it, and primarily, you know, the town had spent a lot of money, a lot of time and energy putting together their comprehensive wastewater management plan, identifying areas for sewer capacity and where it could be provided, and has built that. And you know, and part of the reason was for growth and development in those areas. So it makes sense to take advantage of that. And that was one of the goals and objectives that were, or guiding principles that the MBTA zoning implementation team, while they were reviewing this and talking about sites, that they identified as a guiding principle for locating districts.
Yep. And just kind of to point out that, you know, the way the state's formula works is we can't just like pick a spot that, can't just like pick the Hockomock Swamp where no one can ever build and say, oh, let's put it here, and then, you know, it has, they use their own calculations, and so do we, you know, to actually find like what could actually be built. So, and they, you know, they take out any of the wetlands and floodplain, yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Yep, go ahead.
It's 15 units per acre, and there's no size to the units, right? There's no, it could be a big unit or a small unit, right?
Yeah, it could be.
So the condominiums across the street or on the east side, how many units per acre are on each one of those? Could those then be expanded? Could the owners of those properties expand those and add units in those?
They could.
They could.
Yep.
So
The way the planning board is proposing the zoning, so one point that I didn't mention when I was giving the overview about the zoning, the other thing, your district has to accommodate for an adjacent community. In total, it has to accommodate 10% of the town's total permanent housing stock as of 2020. That number's 913 thereabouts. So the district in total, I'm sorry, 9,128, I think, is the exact number thereabouts. But so 10% of that is 913 units. So in total, the district has to accommodate 913 units.
Yeah, and we're not trying to go like way over that or anything. We have to give ourselves a little bit of room in case the state's calculations don't quite match ours. But yeah, it's a lot.
3 fit that?
Oh no, that's why we have to have 3, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, you could include like residential houses if you wanted to. We could put them at where our houses are. We could make our whole neighborhood that. But that's obviously we're not going to do that, right?
All 3 or 2 or
Yeah.
yeah. But again, I want to stress, it doesn't mean it has to be built. It just means that the capability exists.
Right.
Or built as 15.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Whether it's
Right.
whether
So-
IBC decides that I don't know they
Right.
got bought by some other company and they decide that they want to turn that into apartments or multifamily or something somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know.
So what the board has decided as part of the zoning, so there's no limit for a town above the 15 units per acre in your zoning. You could say, oh, we're going to allow 19, we're going to allow 20 units per acre in our zoning. The planning board has determined that 15 units per acre is sufficient, and that's the density maximum. So it also is the minimum, but that means that the district in total has to still be able to accommodate 913.
Yeah, but say any particular lot, right, still has to provide parking and open space and their stormwater, so, right, yeah, it's,
So the state says 900.
913 for Easton.
State says
And
10%.
It's the planning board who's decided 15.
No,
No, the state decided that as well.
so this, two things. The state says your district has to allow a minimum of 15 units per acre. If you multiply 15 units times 50 acres, it's less than the 913. So what they've also said, and this is for all the MBTA communities, is that if you're an adjacent community, it's 10%. If you're an MBTA community that has a transit station, it's 15 to 20% of your total housing stock is the number of units that in total the district has to accommodate.
So it's good the railroad station didn't come.
So again,
If the station did come, are we then
yes,
expected to comply
Yes.
with the?
yes, yeah.
but there'll be new laws by then anyways, don't, yeah, so, right, yeah.
Heard.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
We
Mr.
see,
Chair.
it. No, it's okay, right, we see laws change so frequently, yeah, who knows,
Right.
we'll be on the books at that point, right, yeah.
Would existing units in the proposed districts count towards the 913 units?
Technically, yes. It's not, again, the housing doesn't have to exist. What we have identified in particular the Foundry Street area where the Avalon multifamily complex exists, that meets the 15 units per acre in the total. It doesn't, it's on the ground, it's already built, it's in the district, it demonstrates that it can exist there. Nobody's going to go in and redevelop that. The state's fine. They're not telling people you have to go in, you have to redevelop, you have to change things. And again, you don't have to build it. So it doesn't count towards, it just demonstrates that that area can support that number of units. If that makes sense.
Could you clarify then, 913 units is what we're aiming for, the provision
In
for
total.
that? In total. And a district, or like the Avalon development has how many units?
340.
So then is it a straight math problem, like 913 units minus the 340? Then Easton is really gonna only target 600, whatever the figure is. I mean, that's not what the state wants, that's not what I know.
Well, no, it's
I
not
know
that
that we
the state
wanna
doesn't want
provide
it. They
ample housing.
recognize, I mean,
Yeah.
Easton's not the only community that is going to have a district that has existing multifamily housing and likely to the density level that the state's looking for.
Yeah. So we get credit, but we don't. When we're talking about what we're trying to comply with for the state.
Well, we don't have to actually, we have to provide like the area that can accommodate those, they meet all the requirements, to meet that.
Right.
We're not actually, we never really have to meet that number of homes per this law that we're working with here. It doesn't say you have to build this many homes, and it's not like 40B where you say, oh, you have to have 10% affordable, something like that. It's just, we have to provide the opportunity, for a certain amount of land to be built, in that manner.
Okay.
If I could follow up on that, the Avalon, the fact that they have existing units, it's unlikely that they're gonna redevelop because they're already at or close to that density anyway.
Yeah.
So the pertinent inquiry when you're considering it is, what is the likelihood of new or additional units in a particular area, right? So with the Avalon, it's not so much counting towards the 913, it's just, if you take your acreage and calculate what's permissible or allowable in that area, that's what counts towards your 913, as I understand it.
Right, and that's already on the ground, it's already built.
Yeah.
Anything else? Planning board members, do you have any new ideas here or comments?
I wanted to
Yep.
speak up for the Belmont Street area.
Mhm.
I own the property from, I own the property
Peter, do you
from-
want to have him state his name?
Oh, yes.
Mike Ferroni, my
Yep.
father Ray Ferroni. We own the property between the Briarwood Building and Belmont Arms Drive. There's a mixture of things we have there, offices, some residential apartments.
Which one is it? Like which of the, like, which businesses are there?
It's right here?
It's the group of homes that I'm sure everybody's looking to be torn down.
Right, you're talking about this area right
it's-
here, right?
Yes, all the way to the, to Belmont Arms Drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, all the way to?
Yes.
So, okay, it
Yes,
includes
so
that.
cool.
2 stores there.
Yeah, yeah, so there's some retail and then there's some apartments,
It's
right?
a hodgepodge of stuff.
Well,
that's
we've
been
seen
there
worse,
forever,
yeah.
and,
Joanne, if I show that from my
just
screen,
to-
can you
to
see
say
it?
Well,
Politely.
your area
Yes,
is
I can,
included
yeah.
in this,
That it's this area here.
well, your area is included in this potential district. How do you think that is a good thing?
I
or
think it's a
bad
great
Yeah.
thing for us. We bought this land hoping to redevelop it, and we've been approached by quite a few people. And, we would like to develop it ourselves, but residential is what we think works best there, as opposed to, a car dealership or something. I think the residential use is what we're really interested in. And we would definitely be interested in tying into the sewer.
Okay,
That sewer ends at the dentist's office. We're next door
right, oh, yeah.
to the dentist where he put his building in. It stopped there. And, so it is available for us. And we obviously would use it.
Yep, okay, thanks.
Additional question
Go
or
ahead,
comment, if I might? 2 questions, one of which is, what do you expect the timing will be when the board is actually voting on these issues about which districts under consideration? And second, I just wanted to point out, I think the Roach Brothers district is now being given, I think, renewed consideration from the earlier part of the process. And from my point of view, I live in the Furnace Village area, and we're not supportive of having the entirety of the district in our area, but we're also not supportive of having the entirety of the district in the Belmont Street area or the entirety of the district in the Roach Brothers area. We think a multi-district approach makes sense. The Roach Brothers one, for a lot of reasons to me, it's got a lot of things that make it attractive in our view. It's 2.5 miles to the Stoughton commuter road, which is one of the stated factors, for the purpose of putting this law in place, just reduce the commuting time, make it as easy. There's obviously a lot of businesses up in that area, so for folks who are working and so forth. And there's a number of other factors too, in terms of, whatever the available land for development. It's served by a 4-lane road and so forth. But in any event, I'm pleased to see that the serious consideration has been given to the other 2 districts as well. So back to my first question, do you have a sense on what the timing would be when the Planning and Zoning Board would actually be voting in terms of what its recommendation is?
Yeah, we
for
definitely
the-
have time for a few more meetings, but not, Stephanie, what do you have?
Oh,
for a
let me
timeline
go
there?
over the
Yep.
calendar,
Thank you.
and,
Yeah, I
and
have
we'll
it
be
in front of
talking more about
Oh, yeah.
this with the board.
Yep.
So this meeting tonight was to talk about the other 2 districts. We are actually doing a charrette. It's, Peter and I will be at that meeting, and that it is with the Furnace Village Neighborhood Group to talk about answer questions and concerns related to the Foundry Eastman Street site. Then on the 29th, the board will be given an update on these public meetings and the feedback that we've received. On February 12th, the
plan is for the board to review and finalize the districts. And on February 27th, then hold final public comments, and then deliberate, close the hearing, and vote on March 12th.
Yep, so that's the usual schedule, because we have to get everything ready for the Board of Selectmen to do their thing and get it on, yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Moving forward.
In the meantime, Peter and I are doing presentations to about 15 of the municipal boards and committees in town too.
Yep. Stephanie, we actually, I didn't quite see if we had any remote people.
Suzanne,
raise
do
their
we have
hand.
anyone?
We do, but nobody's raised their hand.
Oh, okay. Is there any chat?
No.
No chat
They're
questions?
listening, they're listening.
Okay, remote people, we didn't hear any questions from you.
Well, can I?
Mhm,
I
go
just
ahead.
want, Mary Landry from the Foundry, I live up Quonicut, and I'm from the Foundry area, and we've been exploring all of these options, just because, well, we're in favor of sharing the wealth across the town. And so as a point of just kind of analytics, from the perspective of a commuter, right? If this is because this happens to be an MBTA provision, or, you know, if you think about it from the perspective of a commuter, I kind of thought about it like in looking at all of the districts and comparing all of the potential districts, it seems like the North Washington is actually the closest to any commuter rail.
Right, yeah, but given the exception that Foundry's about like a half mile farther, right, yeah. I looked at it at one meeting, I looked it up, so just to, put that out there.
So,
Unless my Google is different than other
Say
things.
that
out there,
again?
so, yeah.
2.5 versus 4.5 miles, isn't it?
yeah, Stoughton is
Okay.
2.5 miles, 2.6 miles from North Washington. That's actually the closest to any existing commuter rail. If the station happens to get put into Easton, then that's that's the number one place for it to start. And it already addresses the other provision of if it becomes an MBTA, if we have a station in town, then you have to be located really close to the tracks. So within half a mile, right? So you're already setting us up for that potential in the future rather than having to revisit that compliance issue. And then on top of that, like Foundry Street area is inundated with traffic. And I did a commute for what it takes to get to any of these MBTA stations at 7:30 in the morning. And North Washington is actually the best position. As a commuter, it would just take me 6 to 8 minutes at 7:30 in the morning to get to a commuter rail station. The next closest is, and then there's Brockton, which it's like 4.7 miles to Brockton. And then also Canton Junction, which has ample parking. So both Canton and Brockton have ample parking. So that's really the most advantageous location to consider from a commuter perspective. And the fact that it's on a 4-lane road already means that it can receive that. Belmont, Washington area was actually the second best location from the perspective of a commuter.
I guess I kind of missed, why is Belmont second best to?
Because it's only 5.5 miles from Stoughton and 5.1 for Brockton. So you have more options.
Okay.
And like 9.5 to Canton Junction. So, and it's on a 4-lane road, so it makes the commute time far less. And that distance also opens up for bike riders and, people who are super conscientious about eco considerations. So, and the other thing I might also add is that Mansfield Station Square Apartments has apartments that are already the same rent that Avalon has. So as a point of comparison, if I were choosing to move to a community and need to commute on the MBTA, I would choose Mansfield over Easton. Just from, for commuter perspectives, because it's zero distance, less time, less money, less gas. If that was one of my main decision factors from choosing Easton over another community that already has housing in place as a commuter. I was just trying to think of it in terms of a commuter perspective.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, whereas if Easton had housing like in the North Washington district, then I would consider Easton more so.
Yep, and thank you for that fact check. You're right, it does seem like Stoughton is that much farther there, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
1.3, okay, yeah. Anything else? Suzanne has the public, the remote?
No raised hands.
Oh. Okay, well, let's see, we can tell you when our next meeting is. Don't really have anything else. We've discussed these many times, so we don't really have much more to discuss on that. Right now, the next meeting is January 29th. And you could kind of check the website or check in with Stephanie if you're interested in any of the other,
Yeah.
The Founder Street, yeah.
So I'll take the opportunity at this moment. We do have, and this is for anyone who is listening remotely or watching this after the meeting. We do have a web page dedicated to the MBTA zoning and asking questions, and a question and answer section, as well as more information and details on the zoning itself. And it is, oops, I meant to, I close this down because I have it on the, it's www.easton.ma.us/MBTA zoning, all one word. And I'm going to display it on the screen. I have it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Or not, I thought I had it here. No.
Oh, and Stephanie, you think we need to
Sorry.
continue this, or it's still just a discussion as far as?
Because this is part of the public hearing
Yeah,
process,
yeah.
we would continue it to the
Okay,
next meeting.
we'll start that up.
Continue to the
Okay,
29th?
yeah, you got it?
All right.
Okay, all in favor, Wolf,
Aye.
Kid,
Hi.
Zygmunt.
Aye.
So you're last if you're on the screen. You know, you're taking up the whole screen too. You might not know that, but yeah, you're on the whole top screen.
Oh no, don't even tell me that.
Okay. Let's see. Well, Stephanie. Oh, okay, so you share that, Stephanie. I'll go back to the agenda here.
I thought I had it on the slide, but I've been, as I do the presentations, and I've been refining it a little bit every time, and I think I lost that.
Okay.
But again, it is www.easton.ma.us/MBTA zoning.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. We have meeting minutes from December 8th.
It's on the agenda.
There you go, it's on the agenda, that's right, we have it on the agenda. It's also very
it's
easy
on
to
the agenda.
find, the sliding banner on the front page of the town's website. The MBTA zoning is one of the items, and you can click on that and it will go right to it. You can also go to the planning board page, and there's a big link to it right at the top of the page.
Okay. So next we have the meeting minutes from December 18th. Did everyone have a chance to review those? Did you have any changes?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay. All in favor, Zygmunt?
Aye.
Kid?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Duchesne, aye. All right. That passes. Chair report. We're not really planning on any other zoning bylaw changes, seeing as this has been a pretty time-consuming for the staff and I think all of us. But we'll keep some in mind for the, for the fall, maybe possibly for the fall. Even fall is not usually a personal time for zoning changes. I think we kind of want to stay on point there for, oh, Joanne, now you're on two screens, sorry. I'm not in control of the screen. I'm not in charge of the cameras everywhere. Yeah.
Peter, she wouldn't know if you didn't tell her. She'd be.
Yes, yeah. Stephanie, what else do we have coming up? We have some changes to Foundry Street, the number, the units.
424.
Yeah, 424.
425, 4 Foundry Street. Before I talk about that, I just want to stay on the MBTA subject for
Okay.
a moment.
Oh, sure.
We have had 3 members, Suzanne, in total. 3 members in total who have not been at every meeting of the MBTA hearing. So to be in compliance with the Mullen rule, we really need the members, all members at each of the next 4 meetings, but at least the last 3, because what we're planning on doing is a complete summary as part of the review and finalization of the districts. We will renotice the hearing, and we'll do a complete rebrief and summarization of everything that we've
Okay,
talked
just to
about.
refresh it, yeah, okay.
So that then all members will be able to vote at the subsequent meeting.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, so again, please make every effort possible.
Don't
to
have many
be-
more left for this at least, right?
Yeah. Okay, and 464 Foundry Street. I think we gave an update to the board a couple of meetings ago. They were having difficulty financing the project with the 25% affordable units. Or actually, it's six units that they were proposing as affordable. And what we had suggested and verified that can be done with both Housing and Livable Communities and with the marketing manager they're using to market their affordable units, or will be using when they market their affordable units, is that they could phase in the affordable units. Basically what they're saying is to have all of the affordable units available as soon as construction is complete will be uneconomic for them. It'll take like 30 years before they'll realize a profit on the project, which is really quite a long period of time. And so it was suggested, in order for the project to move forward, that they take this phased approach. They went back and ran the numbers and said that would work very well for them. We've drafted what an agreement would look like if the board voted to allow that change. This is a change that would require pretty much a new permit. And it will, and then what they're also proposing is, rather than a mix of bedrooms, they would be all 2-bedroom units that they're proposing. And there'll be a slight increase in the square footage. It's about 200 square feet of additional building space that extends about 32 feet further east on the property line. So Peter and I'd sent that to Peter. I think Peter has some questions, but if the board's amenable to that, they would like to come to the board and ask that the project be re-permitted with that phased-in program for the affordable units.
Then what else? We have a couple, it's another change for turnpikes for the baseball, right? So, Turnpike Street.
Remind me,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's,
I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, so this is Turnpike Street near the
Oh, yes,
Washington
okay.
and
So
Turnpike.
the other- yeah,
They're looking
yeah.
to
Yep,
add, it was approved as kind of like one building. If you know, there's a baseball like training area back there for kids. So we approved it with like one building in the back and then kind of some open space in the front. Now they'd like to put another building there because they're the baseball and other like maybe dance is so popular. So it seems somewhat reasonable to us, but we have to wait to see exactly
Yeah.
what they have for us, and then we'll,
Yeah.
of course, talk to the whole
Yeah.
board about it.
This is one that it was originally approved as contractor bays. It's right next door. It's just to the north of Southeastern Motors. I don't know if you're familiar with that dealership. And it was originally approved as contractor bays, and the board really wanted to see it set back. I think they had contemplated doing a second building initially, but then changed their minds. And it actually did much better as it's kind of a recreation. There's a fitness center, there's I think it's softball, probably training, and it's all related to fitness and recreation uses.
Yeah, so we thought just
wanna
kind of let you
expand
know a
it.
couple things that are coming up rather than just kind of hear about it first once you get a packet, right? Yeah, so,
Yep,
do you have anything else?
no, that was it.
Okay, well, we kept that to less than an hour and a half. That was pretty good.
Motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Second.
All in favor? DeShane, aye. Kidd?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
I know your name. And Zygmunt.
Bye.
Okay, that passes. That's it. Thanks. Bye, Joanne. Bye, Joanne.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Joanne?
Thank you.
Thank you.